Son of a bitch, I'll be right there.
Oh, that's a great way to start the show.
Did we catch that live?
Oh, yeah, we caught that one live. All right, ladies.
All right, there it is. There it is.
We have no idea what we're talking about. We had to have a really last minute reschedule. So let's see where this show kicks off. Let's go.
Shut up and sit down.
The Business Bros Podcast was created for you. Learn from the business professionals who come to share their stories. Find out what's working in business and social media, what's hot and what's not, straight from the mouths of successful entrepreneurs out there doing the real work. And now, welcome to another episode of
Business Bros. Yeah, that
was No, dude, that one actually sounded perfect on my end.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's why it was off, because it was unperfect on my end. But
I don't know.
Perfect is the enemy of done, son.
We're doing it. So I don't know what we're talking about today, but I'll just start by sharing, man. It's kind of tough owning a business sometimes.
Dude,
like
super.
One of the things that I am working on, or call it a character flaw, right? A character flaw that I'm also a people pleaser, very much like this person that I'm thinking about that works for us here. Very much a people pleaser. I want to make people happy. I want people to be happy working with us. You know, I talked yesterday about one of our pillars is to make things as easy as possible for agents to write and submit new business with us. And so when they're telling me that they're dissatisfied with something, like my mind is immediately in, how do I fix this mode? How do I make this person happy mode? So like that's one side of where I am, what I think about. And the other side of where I am and what I think about is, how do I systematize everything? How do I continue to make things more standard? I hate doing business or building a business on a case-by-case basis. I don't think
like
that's the right way to go.
As the business rolls in, you're saying, right?
Yeah, as the business rolls in, you know, we get a new producer on board and creating special rules for this person and special rules for that person. And, you know, I don't like to do that. I like to have a very standard model. These are the rules. This is how it works across the board. You know, either you're in or you're out. You know, like that's what I want it to be. But I'm also human, and I like people, and I like working with people, and I like to make other people happy, and I want other people to be happy working with me. So I want to, you know, have that relationship. I want to be personable. I want to be able to be flexible and say, you know what? Okay, I understand where you're coming from. Let me see how we can adjust for you. Yeah, so I'm like caught in these two conflicting ideals.
So we've been talking a lot about lately, you know, the team and having that was kind of going to be today's show, by the way. It was going to be about hiring process, recruiting people and building that team. And so I had that kind of thought process in my mind when I was getting ready for today. And it seems to me like when you customize, like when you're trying to be all to please all, you're taking away from that ideal client. Like, who is your ideal client? I think your system that you're building has to coincide with the person that you're trying to recruit. And if the person who shows up and is interested in being part of our program, they need to fall in line with the ideal client that we're looking for. Otherwise, it's simply not a good fit.
So basically what you're saying is we need to take this all the way back to our recruiting and say, when we're recruiting, the person that we're recruiting needs to check these boxes.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of it, yes. Part of it is yes, you should be fishing for this type of, you know, you think of the fishing analogy, right? You got to take the right bait for the right fish, right? So yes, we have to have a checklist of who we want as our ideal client on the recruitment side. So the people who are out there doing the fishing. So as we're looking for different agents to work with us in our agency, we should be checking off a few boxes like, do we want this person to have experience? Do we want this person to have an existing book of business? Do we want this person to have a license in another field? Do we want them to have a specific background, or are they a specific age group? Like I know you can't always deviate from discriminate in certain things. However, if you can really focus in on who your ideal client is and create a program for that ideal client,
Mm-hmm.
then everybody else who comes to the picture and they're like, hey, can we change this? Can we change this? No, this is how we run things. This is how we operate. And they're either going to do that and modify how they do business to meet our systems, to meet our processes, or they're not.
What's
And
funny,
that's
man?
okay too.
What's funny is you're sitting here talking about the ideal client, the ideal. Yeah, I guess it's my ideal client. So we've talked about this before. The agents that we have that are part of Pipeline Insurance, their customers are the end users, right? They're the people that are actually buying insurance. But me, in my position, my customers are not the people buying insurance. My customers are the agents.
Mhm.
And so in my Junto meeting on Tuesday night, one of the things that I was challenged to do was to determine or identify who my ideal client is, who is my ideal agent. So we're sitting here having this conversation, and it's bringing me right back to that. And, it kind of makes me think, I am where I am now. I can't go back and like erase the people that we have, and just like stop working with them or anything. But definitely going forward, I think it's probably a good idea for us to say, hey, look, these are the metrics that recruits have to meet. If they don't meet these metrics, then we shouldn't even try to recruit them.
Well, on the one hand, you never know how people can change themselves to meet to go under our umbrella, right? So they can change the way they do things and conform to our processes, to our systems, and that's fine. That's totally cool. But what I'm saying is, for example, when we get somebody who's on the show and we think, look, this person I think would be a great referral source for insurance. We should go after this person, and we start talking about, how do we structure something for this particular individual? I think we should scratch that. I think there should be a process in play, and rather than trying to chase the dollar that person represents, chase the profile that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Look, this is who we are. This is what we have on the table. We have this, this, and this. You can choose from, in other words, it's kind of like the whole bowling analogy with the bumpers on the side, right? Like this is your lane. You can move anywhere in this lane. You can go left to right in this lane, but you have to be in this lane. So which
bowling, by the way.
I know. It's anything social, really.
No, actually, bowling comes all the way from when I was living in Vegas, man. I was in a bowling league when I was in Vegas.
I know.
And my average was up to like 170 or something like that. It was pretty decent.
I know I have a hard time breaking 100.
Yeah, it was great. Anyway, totally off topic, but getting back to it. So you can move anywhere inside this lane, but you have to stay in this lane.
We have to stay in this lane. And the thing is, what you're thinking about and what you've been stressing about today is you're trying to create a whole new lane for somebody rather than just specifying this is our lane. This is what we do. This is how you can, this is it. Like, be creative in this space. How do you generate more in this space? You know what I mean? And you can even think of that internally too. So on the one hand, when we're talking about cutting hours or shifting time frames or whatever, maybe it's not the hours as it is during this time. This is how you can generate revenue with the existing stuff that we have. This is how you spend the time so that, that time that you were normally going to cut out, instead of cutting it out, it's now pointed at dollar productive activities that could multiply the amount that you're paying out. And that would make up some of the difference. Right? That would be a different point of view where rather than cutting out your staff's time to cut cost, you're reallocating the time to bring in revenue. That's important. And then, it usually in almost any business that we look at, the problem is not the expense. The problem is the revenue. you can cut expense, but at some point we need to focus on how do we generate more revenue.
Right.
And in our case, we have a pretty extensive book of business that we could be growing within.
Mhm.
Right. So if we're looking at our own numbers and in the organization on the policy count per person, per client, like how could we increase that if we focus our the attention, that downtime that you would have cut out in increasing that per policy count per client, then that's okay that you have that person on board because their hours are being are not being spent, they're being invested.
I'm kind of glad that you brought that up the way that you did, because it's a conversation that we were having yesterday too. Is we were talking about putting people in the right seats, and part of that seat reassignment is focusing on the business that we currently have and making sure that it's being properly maintained, getting in there and focusing on the renewals for customers that don't have an assigned agent.
Yep.
And so that's exactly where the opportunity lies. And yeah, no, good thought.
I mean, and that kind of takes away, it solves two problems, right? It solves the problem of the allocation of time, and it solves the problem of finding another revenue source. And again, it's just a different perspective, right? If we go straight to cutting, I mean, I remember it was I think it was Peter Taunton was on the show, and he was like, eventually you're going to be cutting with like a scalpel, and you're going to be really slicing away where there's nothing really left to cut. And we don't want to get to that point. We want to empower our people. This is your lane. Use this lane as creatively as possible. And we should always look at it as that way too. Like, yeah, you're close to the edge here, but you got all this other side that you can be working on. Let's work on these things and let's track, let's see how well you're doing, and then justify it, right? Like, is it working after a certain amount of time? And we'll go from there.
That's good. That's good. I mean, that kind of puts me in the same frame of mind. I mean, I was sitting here thinking, okay, this person wants, an extra commission basically for customers that she writes, that she sells, and you and I and Jimmy and Armando, and we've had this conversation in the past, and it's when we're paying somebody hourly, we don't want to
structure a commission base.
Right. So, getting past that, getting over that hurdle that's where I'm at. That's like,
well, here's the thing about what people are saying and what you are hearing are two different things, right? So you're hearing they want commission, but they're saying they need more money. Income. Yeah.
Right.
And it doesn't matter where it comes from, what you call it. The bottom line is I want the capability to earn more. So here is how you do that.
That's what no. And that is where my thinking was. And that's why I was telling you, like, I'm honestly, I was going to dip out on this show. FYI, everybody listening,
Dude, I almost had you.
I was gonna do the intro and then dip out, but since our guest canceled, I felt bad leaving Nan here all by his lonesome, and all you folks listening would be bored out of your minds. So damn, no, I'm just kidding.
Right there, dude.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
No. But that is where my mind was. That my mind was racing, and okay, I understand what you're saying. You're not saying I want to earn commission. You're saying I want to make more money. I need to make more money, and so like that's where my mind was. Like, here's a book recommendation for everybody out there. The book is called Decisive. I don't remember off the top of my head who the author is, but I'm looking it up right now. It is Chip and Dan Heath. So this book Decisive talks about this methodology they call multi-tracking. And so it's just a matter of sitting down and like writing out a bunch of different options, and as opposed to like doing a pros and cons list and saying which one's better, which one's worse. It's like kind of letting them all play out, or at least the initial stages, letting the initial stages of them play out and seeing, which would work best. So I mean, there's a bunch of different ways of coming to a decision, and I really liked that book. I think I'm actually gonna have to sit and listen to it a second time through, because I feel like I'm getting hit with a lot of hey, you need to make a decision about this. This is my issue. This is my problem. Make a decision to help me.
Yeah. Well, welcome to leadership.
Yeah, right.
Welcome to running the ship. I mean, honestly, it's nothing more than putting out fires all day long. And the truth of the matter is, oftentimes you're just going to have to be able to decide and understand that each decision, you're going to have to let it play out a little while and then modify it and adapt it. That's the beauty of being in charge, is you can change your mind. Like, I was having this conversation earlier today with Michael. Actually, Michael came by to check on his car, and and we were talking about Donald Trump, actually, and he was saying, and he was like, I listen to what he's saying in the morning, and then by the time I hear it in the news in the afternoon, they turned it into something else. Like, he didn't say it like that, or it's not the same. And I'm like, well, but you got to understand, like, he's in the highest position of power. No matter what he does, good, bad, indifferent, whatever, there's going to be people on both sides of the equation, and they're going to take what he says as rule and point it in whatever direction. Every president goes through that. It doesn't matter what side you're on, right? And here's the thing, though. When a president changes their mind, the other side hounds you for that, because you already said this. Like, once you say it, it becomes law, and that's the only way it's going to be, and you can never change your mind. But the truth of the matter is, you've come across some additional information, and now it's changed your perspective on something. So we're changing our approach to something, and that's okay. When you're at the highest levels, you get the biggest critique for when you change your mind. Right. But you just kind of got to put that behind you and say, look, this is, at that moment in time, this was the situation that I saw. This was the best information that I had. I made a decision. Once we've implemented that decision, this is what I saw. This is the new information that I have. I am now changing the process. And it's okay to do that, right? It's okay to make a change at some point.
Right.
And not everybody is going to like it.
It's okay to make changes, definitely. But I definitely also do not want to waffle back and forth. One of the things, I had this open conversation with our staff member about that role change. I said, look, this is what I'm thinking, and I kind of want to get your feedback, and it's not anything that's necessarily set in stone yet. This is just kind of, where I'm thinking and where my mind is on things right now. And what I don't want to do as a leader is say, okay, this is the change that I'm making, and then a week from now saying, you know what, I'm changing it again and going back to this, and then a week from then changing it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you did something really good, is you laid your cards on the table. It reminds me of like Eminem, for example. At the end of 8 Mile, he's like, I am white trash. I do look like a bum, right? He's laying it all out. This is everything about me, right? Now it's your turn. So you did kind of the same thing. You're like, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Give me your feedback. I have to make a decision on this, right? Hard on the sleeve. Yeah.
Yep.
But it's not about
Nobody
heart.
Can see
it's about making the most informed decision that you can. And it involves that individual. So like, the fact that you laid it on the table, the next step you can take when you make a decision is, remember what we talked about? This is what I want to try. Let's set a time period on this, and I want to see the results. If it works out good, then we're going to go in this direction. If it doesn't, then I'm going to switch to this direction. And it's okay to change your mind. The thing you're always concerned about is how it's going to affect that other person, or how it's going to affect their role, or what the goal is that they're trying to achieve. Like, are they going to be in line with the goal that you're trying to achieve? So if you lay it out on the table and show them that this is the end goal, this is what we're trying to get to, and these are the paths that I think can get us there, we're going to try this one first, and we're going to see what this results. And this is, if we can hit this metric, or if we can hit this goal, then we're on the right path. We're going to keep going with that one. If we can't hit this goal, or if it doesn't work out, we're going to modify to this.
Makes sense.
Because that's it's always weird because at least this way you have buy-in, right? The other person, even if you don't do what the other person said, the other person feels heard.
Mhm.
Right? And that's what good leaders do. My principal at ESIG does the same thing. He's like, he has an advisory council, right? But he lets them know you're an advisory council. You're not the decision makers. I'm the decision maker, but I come to you because I value your opinions, your expertise, and the role of the things that you guys do. So I'm going to take in that information, but I'm going to make a decision, and I'm going to tell you this is the reason why I'm making this decision. This is what the goal is, and this is where we're intending to go. And so once I make that decision as a team, this is our lane. Now you still have creativity in your classroom. You still have creativity in this area, but from this bumper to this bumper, this is where we're staying. That's your lane, right? Be as creative as you want in that space.
SMRT. San
So
Diego is
Adrian
now
says-
at phase 2. What changes can we expect in our day-to-day? I have not done a ton of research in this whole phase 2, phase 3. I have heard that they're trying to even fast track phase 3. But one thing that I do know, one thing that they have mentioned is some restaurants are starting to open up again.
Yeah. Yesterday, I was hanging out with the wife here after the show, and she's like, I didn't take anything out for dinner, but I got this craving for In-N-Out. Do you want to go to In-N-Out? I was like, yeah, of course. Who am I going to say no to In-N-Out ever? So we, family outing, we all hop in the car, take the kids to McDonald's because for whatever reason, the kids don't like In-N-Out. But anyways, we go to In-N-Out.
Hey, man, I was that kid. It's cool.
I know. Weird. Anyways. So we go to In-N-Out. Luckily, it wasn't a long line. But as we were in line, one of the workers came out and he knocked on the window. He's like, hey, just so you know, the dining room's open if you guys want to place an order. You can't eat inside, but the dining room's open. And they hadn't been open, for quite some time now.
Mm-hmm.
So some of these phase 2 changes, I think are I think we're gonna hit the floodgates pretty quickly because I think people are fed up. So this gives them a little bit of an extra oomph to go out. And I think it's good for society as a whole to be able to get out there and do something different. You know what I mean? Like not be in house the whole time, to walk outside and see people. I still feel like the creepiest thing about whether you're at a restaurant or whether you're with friends and family, whatever, is that whole mask thing, dude. The mask thing blows my mind. Like it makes me feel uncomfortable. I feel like people are taking a deep gaze into my soul because all I can see is their eyes, dude. It's so weird. And it's they're probably looking at me no different than ever before. I just feel like it's such a deep gaze because all you see is their eyes. Now, dude, today I listened to the Joe Rogan episode with Elon Musk. They did a part 2. And just hearing, what Elon thinks about the whole coronavirus pandemic thing. And I mean, he's along the same boat as me, dude. He's like, look, we overreacted to this thing. And he's like, he literally look at the numbers and he's like, it doesn't make any sense. Our reaction to what happened doesn't make any sense. But Joe, on the other hand, he said something that was pretty, I thought it was insightful. He was like, at least this is like the first time around, right? Like this is a good dry run of if something were to happen, how we would have to react. And hopefully nothing ever major happens, but at least we have something in place where we can figure out, like, everybody knows what to do, which is cool.
Yeah. So the last report that I saw said we are over 5 million total cases like in the world. And something like 330,000 deaths. So it's, still a 7-ish% death rate. But yeah, I did we overreact? I don't know. One thing
percent death rate. See, of the 330,000, of which, and here's the thing is
of the 5,330,000 died.
Of the 330, I'm wondering how many of them were coded COVID when they had cancer, when they had heart conditions, when they
So
had diabetes.
here's another thing though, right? To that argument, when the AIDS pandemic was happening in the 80s, people didn't die from AIDS. They died from pneumonia. They died from a cold. They died from the flu, but their bodies weren't able to fight those diseases because they had AIDS. So how many people died from COVID? Because they had cancer, because they had diabetes, because they had all these other things. COVID just was like the extra thing that pushed them over the edge.
Here's another statistic I saw the other day. The average death of a person that had COVID was on par with the average death of a person who doesn't have COVID.
Probably. So the question is, going back to it, is did we overreact? I don't know.
I don't think any of us really know.
I don't. Yeah. I mean, one thing that somebody said is, the CDC gets paid billions of dollars to do the amount of research that it does.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The CDC, WHO, right? They all get a ton of money to do the amount of research that they do. And frankly, I'm going to trust their research and their results, their recommendations over my Google search.
Fair. We hope.
That's just my thoughts. But I think, going into phase 2 here, there's going to be a resurgence, right? I think that we're going to start to see more cases, and hopefully it doesn't lead to, another lockdown. Hopefully we just, start to continue to open up. Phase 2 leads into phase 3. And then by the end of the year, we're all having Thanksgiving dinner and Christmas together, because I'm pretty sure that regardless of this whole stupid COVID thing, like when Thanksgiving comes,
we gonna have Thanksgiving. Yeah,
yeah. Moms. Like that's
absolutely. Happening. Yeah, you are not stopping me from eating mom's
crescent
dinner.
rolls.
Crescent rolls. Jeez, you guys don't understand. Thanksgiving's like my favorite holiday of all time.
Exactly.
There's no presents involved. It's just family.
So phase 2 is gonna see, I think more cases, and we're gonna start hearing that the numbers are going up, and it might scare some people. We're gonna start seeing restaurants opening up. I've heard of I've heard that Fifth Avenue up here in Hillcrest, they're going to start shutting the streets down. Oh, and I think India Street in Little Italy, they're going to start shutting the streets down and allowing restaurants to serve food outside.
Oh, so you can have that 6 feet of distance.
So you can have that 6 feet of distance and a lot more space. So that's that's going to be cool. We're going to see some boost to the economy, the local economies, and that's going to be great. Retail stores are going to start to open up. And it's crazy to see, how many retail stores have shut down. And what is mom going to do if she can't cook Thanksgiving dinner? Exactly. Man, mom will go crazy.
She's not going to not cook Thanksgiving dinner.
Right? Oh, right? Man.
What are some clever ways businesses are adapting to the 6 foot policy? Dude, I don't know that they've, I'll tell you what, I've seen some cool stickers on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you go to Little Caesars, there's like pizza slices, right? Like Walmart has their own decals. And if anything, it's allowed, I think more so it's allowed your companies to adapt to a system of shopping, a system of restocking, a system of letting customers in, watching their I wonder like how much stuff gets stolen or not gets stolen. Like, do you feel you're being watched more now when there's fewer people in the store than outside? I'll tell you some, and here's another thing. I don't know about the 6 foot policy. I think that to me was kind of irritating. Like, and it's only because I had a bad experience when I went to a Walmart. I went to the Walmart here in National City, where you line up. They have those easy up tents all the way down the line, all the way across. So you're always in the shade. I went to the Walmart in Eastlake. And I stood in line for like 45 minutes to get into the Walmart, and there was no shade. And this bald head don't do good in the shade. And I was wearing all black because I don't know why. I just happened to be wearing all black that day. And so it sucked. I mean, once you get inside the Walmarts, once you get inside the stores, the shopping experience is way better, assuming the shelves have what you need to get. But getting into the store, and people are very courteous, and you're doing everything you're supposed to do. But the getting into the store process is horrible. It still sucks. So I hope this phase 2 actually opens that up. And as far as keeping 6 feet, actually I saw an article the other day that the CDC is now taking back. And I didn't do research on this to see if it was true, but they're taking back the fact that the virus spreads on surfaces. So I was like, that's some crazy stuff right there.
Huh?
Yeah. So that they're saying it doesn't after all. Now I didn't do any research, so I have to look that up. I just read it in one of my searches that I was looking to. I was like, what? I just happened to be looking at other stuff at that moment, but I was like, no way. And I don't know, it could have been like an Onion or something, an Onion article for all I know. But that would change things around. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll tell you one more, because we're gonna cut out for time. I'm wondering how this whole hydrochloroquine or whatever that thing that people are taking.
I just looked it up, by the way. USA Today, ABC7, CDC gives new recommendations to safely reopen. Says coronavirus does not easily spread on most services. What?
You see what I'm saying? Like, all right. Yeah. So that whole thing, the whole 6 feet apart, like you can't touch my stuff. I can't touch your stuff. Do I have to spray down everything that comes over Amazon? Like overreactions.
Yep. But I'll tell you this,
we're safe.
Maybe it's better to overreact than to have not reacted enough.
Adrian says, no apology.
No apology. Just saying, maybe it's better to have overreacted than to not have reacted enough.
You never know. It could have been uglier. It could have been scarier.
It could have been. And we won't know. But we took the steps that we did. And like I said, I've been saying this since.
And I've been saying it, Miguel.
And I've been saying it. Oh, that's one that you're gonna
I gotta get that one too. Huh?
But things are gonna get back to normal before we know it.
They absolutely will. All right, ladies and gents, that's all we got for you guys today. And hopefully, actually, let me see real quick. Yep, Adrian says better safe than sorry. I got to make sure that I posted Adrian stuff. Boom. All right, well, that's all we got for you guys today, and we'll tune in next time on Friday. You know what I didn't say today, Ham?
What's that?
SHIT, baby. So happy
it's Thursday.
Thank you for listening to the Business Bros Podcast. Are you looking to get more clients or to increase your income? Hernan, the business bro, can help you generate referrals through the power of podcasting. And James, the insurance bro with Pipeline Insurance, can help you effectively add insurance to your existing business. If you are ready to create wealth today and generational wealth for tomorrow, email businessbros@csfirst.com to schedule a free consultation, or join the Business Bros Network, www.businessbros.biz.